Racial profiling has long been a mechanism of control, a tool used to maintain systems of oppression and silence dissent. Malcolm X's life, from his troubled youth to his rise as a powerful advocate for black liberation, reflects the relentless targeting faced by individuals who challenge entrenched societal norms. Assaulted, arrested, and placed under constant surveillance, Malcolm's story exposes the harsh realities of racial injustice and the extraordinary resilience required to confront it. Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little on May 19, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska, entered a world where racial inequality was a constant and inescapable presence. His early life was marked by tragedy and turmoil, much of it rooted in systemic racism. His father, Earl Little, a Baptist preacher and an outspoken supporter of Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement, faced violent opposition from white supremacists. The family's home was burned to the ground, and Earl's subsequent death ruled an accident, but widely believed to be a murder by racists left the family devastated. Growing up in Lansing, Michigan, Malcolm experienced firsthand the pervasive effects of discrimination. The Little family struggled against the economic hardships imposed by racial barriers, and Malcolm's early encounters with educational prejudice left a lasting impression. A teacher's discouragement of his dream to become a lawyer, advising instead that he consider carpentry, embodied the limitations imposed on black aspirations by a segregated society. These formative experiences sowed the seeds of rebellion and a deep awareness of systemic injustice. As a young man, Malcolm drifted into a life of petty crime, a path shaped by societal exclusion and limited opportunities. His arrest in 1946 for burglary led to a harsh sentence of 8 to 10 years in prison, reflecting not only the severity of his actions, but also the racial biases embedded in the criminal justice system. It was in prison that Malcolm underwent a profound transformation, embracing the teachings of the Nation of Islam and finding a sense of purpose that would define his future. Upon his release in 1952, Malcolm adopted the surname X to symbolize the loss of his African heritage and reject the surname Little, which he considered a legacy of slavery. As a minister and national spokesperson for the NOI, he emerged as a charismatic and fiery orator, denouncing white supremacy and advocating for black self-determination. His speeches, which called for radical change and self-reliance, drew widespread attention and scrutiny. Malcolm's growing influence made him a target for law enforcement and government agencies. The Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) began monitoring him closely, labeling him a threat to national security under the counterintelligence program COINTELPRO. The FBI conducted extensive surveillance of Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. His phone lines were tapped, his movements tracked, and informants infiltrated his inner circle. The goal was clear: to disrupt, discredit, and neutralize his efforts to mobilize black communities. The relentless scrutiny Malcolm endured was a stark manifestation of racial profiling on a systemic scale. He was not targeted for criminal activity, but for challenging the established order and articulating a vision of liberation that resonated with oppressed people across the globe. His every word and action were scrutinized, not because of any evidence of wrongdoing, but because of the perceived threat his ideas posed to the status quo. Throughout his activism, Malcolm X faced numerous incidents of harassment and physical violence. In 1960, he was assaulted while traveling, a stark reminder of the dangers faced by civil rights leaders. Police often treated him with hostility, reflecting broader societal attitudes that conflated black leadership with criminality. His presence at rallies and protests often attracted a heavy police presence, ostensibly for security, but frequently resulting in intimidation and provocation. Malcolm's break from the Nation of Islam in 1964 marked a turning point in his activism and in the intensity of surveillance against him. Disillusioned with the NRI's internal politics and its leader Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm founded the Muslim Mosque, Inc., and later the Organization of Afro-American Unity, OAU. These new ventures expanded his focus from religious teachings to a broader agenda of human rights and global solidarity. His pilgrimage to Mecca that same year was transformative. Witnessing Muslims of all races worshipping together shifted his perspective on race and prompted him to adopt a more inclusive approach to activism. Upon his return, Malcolm began to emphasize the universal struggle for human rights, connecting the African American experience to anti-colonial movements worldwide. This shift only heightened the government's interest in silencing him. Malcolm's growing prominence on the international stage was met with increased hostility at home. His speeches criticizing American foreign policy and exposing domestic racism attracted the ire of powerful institutions. He was not just a national figure, but a global one, drawing attention to the hypocrisy of a nation that preached democracy abroad while denying basic rights to its black citizens. The FBI's surveillance of Malcolm X intensified in his final years. Declassified documents revealed the extent of their efforts to undermine him, including attempts to sow discord within his organizations and spread misinformation. The FBI's focus on Malcolm was part of a broader strategy to suppress the civil rights movement by targeting its leaders. Physical threats against Malcolm also escalated. His home was firebombed in February 1965, an attack that endangered his wife and children. Despite the obvious danger, law enforcement provided no protection, highlighting the systemic neglect faced by black activists. The attack was a clear attempt to intimidate him into silence, yet Malcolm remained resolute in his commitment to the struggle for justice. On February 21, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated while speaking at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. The circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in controversy, with evidence suggesting complicity or negligence on the part of law enforcement. His assassination was not merely the loss of a leader, but a chilling message to those who dared to challenge systemic oppression. Malcolm X's legacy is a testament to the enduring power of resistance in the face of relentless persecution. His life illustrates the pervasive nature of racial profiling and its devastating impact on individuals and movements. Yet, it also underscores the resilience of those who refuse to be silenced. Today, Malcolm's story serves as a powerful reminder of the ongoing struggle against racial profiling and systemic injustice. His speeches and writings continue to inspire generations to confront inequality and demand accountability. The surveillance and harassment he endured highlight the need for vigilance in protecting the rights of activists and marginalized communities. In reflecting on Malcolm X's life, it is essential to acknowledge the broader context of racial profiling as a tool of oppression. From stop-and-frisk policies to the disproportionate targeting of communities of color, the patterns of discrimination he faced persist in modern forms. Malcolm's critique of systemic racism remains as relevant today as it was during his lifetime. The story of Malcolm X is not just a history lesson, but a call to action. His courage in the face of adversity challenges us to confront injustice wherever it exists, and to build a society where equality is not an aspiration, but a reality. As we honor his legacy, let us remember that the fight against racial profiling is not just about individual rights, but about the collective dignity of all people. We hope you enjoyed this thought-provoking story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with us. Let's keep sharing stories that move hearts and minds. Until next time.